The transport ship dropped out of faster-than-light travel, and Jinho pressed his face against the window. The Velthera Academy floated in the darkness of space like a crystal flower frozen in time. Towers spiraled upward in impossible shapes, connected by bridges that seemed to be made of pure light. Ships from 100 different worlds docked at various ports, each one stranger than the last. Jinho adjusted his Earth uniform and checked his bag one more time. Snacks, datapad, extra clothes, and a photo of his family back in Busan. Everything he needed for his first year at the most prestigious psychic combat school in the galaxy. The funny thing was, he almost didn't come. When the Galactic Union representatives showed up at his apartment 3 months ago, he thought they had the wrong person. Jinho worked at a convenience store and took online classes. He was nobody special. He definitely wasn't psychic, but they ran their tests anyway. They hooked him up to machines that hummed and beeped. They asked him to move objects with his mind. He couldn't. They asked him to read thoughts. He couldn't do that either. They looked disappointed until they ran the last test, something about mental resilience. That's when their expressions changed. Remarkable, the lead examiner had said, studying the results. Your mind is like, we've never seen patterns like this. Is that good? Jinho asked. They sent him to the academy the next week. Now standing in the docking bay, Jinho felt very small. Beings of every shape and size moved through the crowds. Some walked on legs, some floated. Some seemed to exist as clouds of glowing particles. A creature with 6 eyes and crystalline skin glanced at him, then looked away. Jinho couldn't tell if that was rude or polite in their culture. Earth student? A voice spoke directly into his mind. Jinho jumped, looking around. A tall figure approached, its body covered in geometric patterns that shifted and moved. I am Instructor Thelvis. Follow me. Jinho grabbed his bag and hurried after the instructor. They moved through corridors that seemed to exist in more than 3 dimensions. Other students passed by, and Jinho noticed they all moved with a certain confidence. They belonged here. He felt like a tourist who wandered into the wrong building. The instructor led him to a large circular room with a transparent floor. Below them, space stretched out in all directions. Other students were already gathered, and they turned to look as Jinho entered. This is your training group, Thelvis announced. You will live, study, and eventually fight together. Introduce yourselves. A being with 4 arms and silver skin stepped forward first. I am Velix of Korthal Prime. I have trained in psychic combat since I was 3 cycles old. I can split my consciousness into 4 separate threads and maintain them for 6 hours. He crossed all 4 arms, looking impressive. Next came something that looked like a floating crystal shaped roughly like a person. Patterns of light danced across its surface, and a voice came from everywhere at once. Hesera, Quillen Collective. I communicate faster than your species can think. The third student was harder to look at directly. It seemed to be made of colored gas with vague suggestions of a face. Nixala, Nebular Consortium. I exist partially in thought space already. Physical reality is optional for my kind. They all looked at Jinho. He gave a small wave. Hi, I'm Jinho from Earth. I work at a convenience store. Well, I used to. I guess I go to school here now. Silence filled the room. Velix's 4 eyes blinked in confusion. What are your psychic abilities? I don't really have any, Jinho admitted. I can't move things with my mind or anything. The Union said I have good mental resilience, whatever that means. Hesra's lights flickered in what might have been surprise or amusement. Earth sent a student with no psychic training to an advanced combat academy? I guess? Jinho shrugged. Nixala's gaseous form rippled. This will be entertaining. Thelvis raised one hand and everyone fell silent. Humanity has been classified as psychically dormant for centuries, but recent evaluations show potential in certain individuals. Jinho is here because he possesses something unusual. What that is, we will discover. The instructor's form seemed to pulse with energy. All of you are here to master mind combat. This is not a game. This is not simple training. Mind combat is the most dangerous form of warfare known to galactic civilization. When 2 trained psychics engage in mental battle, reality itself becomes a weapon. Thoughts manifest as physical force. Fears become monsters. The mind becomes both battlefield and weapon. Velix stood straighter, pride visible in his posture. Even Hesera's usually random light patterns became more organized. This was what they trained for their entire lives. Jinho tried to look interested while wondering if the cafeteria served anything similar to Korean food. Tomorrow, you begin basic psychic defense training. Thelvis continued. You will learn to shield your thoughts, to fortify your consciousness, to recognize psychic attacks before they destroy you. In 1 week, you will attempt your first mind combat simulation. The instructor's eyes fixed on each student in turn. Understand this. Every student who enters mind combat training risks permanent psychological damage. Some never wake up. Some wake up changed, broken in ways that cannot be healed. The psychic plane is not forgiving. It will find every weakness in your mind and exploit it. Thelvis paused, letting the weight of those words settle over the room. Those who survive become the elite. Those who fail, we do not speak of them. Jinho raised his hand. Is there a library here? I should probably study before we do the dangerous mind thing. The instructor stared at him for a long moment. Yes, there is a library. I suggest you use it. After the meeting, the students were shown to their quarters. Jinho's room was small but comfortable, with a window showing the stars and a bed that adjusted to his body. He unpacked his things, set up his data pad, and was about to get ready for bed when the door chimed. Felix stood outside, all 4 arms crossed again. Human, we need to talk. Sure, come in. Jinho stepped aside. The Korthan entered, looking around the room with clear disapproval. You understand what we're facing, yes? Mind combat is not a joke. Students die here. Strong students, trained students. And you arrive with no abilities, no training, no preparation. Yeah, it sounds pretty serious, Jinho agreed. Then why do you seem so calm? Velix demanded. Are you not afraid? Jinho thought about it. I guess I'm nervous. But being scared doesn't really help, does it? I'll just do my best and see what happens. Velix made a sound that might have been frustration. Your species is very strange. We get that a lot, Jinho said with a smile. After Velix left, Jinho looked out at the stars for a while. The academy floated in the void, thousands of students training to fight battles inside their own minds. It was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. He set an alarm for the next morning, plugged in his datapad to charge, and went to bed. Above him, the ancient academy continued its eternal purpose, training the galaxy's strongest minds for combat. Somewhere in the depths of the station, instructors prepared lessons that would push students to their psychological limits. Jinho fell asleep in about 3 minutes. The first week at Velthara Academy passed in a blur of strange classes and stranger teachers. Jinho learned that psychic shields were built from focused intention, though his own attempts produced what the instructor called oddly chaotic patterns. He studied the history of mind combat, reading about legendary battles fought entirely in thought space. He practiced meditation techniques that were supposed to strengthen mental discipline, though he kept falling asleep during the sessions. His classmates progressed quickly. Velix could now maintain 6 separate thought threads simultaneously. Hesera demonstrated the ability to process information at speeds that made the monitoring equipment smoke. Nixala existed in 3 different dimensional phases at once, whatever that meant. Jinho could move a pencil about 2 inches if he concentrated really hard. He was pretty sure the pencil was just rolling on its own. On the 7th day, Thelvis summoned all first-year students to the reflection chamber. The room was perfectly spherical, with walls that seemed to be made of liquid mirror. As students filed in, the walls began to show images, memories, recordings of previous mind combat sessions. Jinho watched as a student with blue skin faced off against a training simulation. The psychic battlefield manifested around them, a dark landscape filled with shadows. The student fought bravely, psychic energy blazing from their hands. Then something went wrong. The shadows overwhelmed them. The student's face twisted in silent screaming. Medical staff rushed in to pull them from the simulation. The wall showed another memory. A different student, this one covered in scales. They entered mind combat with confidence, shields blazing. 3 minutes later, they emerged catatonic. The recording showed them being carried away on a stretcher, eyes open but empty. More memories followed. Some showed triumph, students emerging victorious and exhausted, but most showed failure, trauma, permanent damage to minds that ventured into combat unprepared. The room fell silent as the last memory faded. Thelvis appeared at the center of the chamber, form flickering with power that made the air feel heavy. What you have witnessed is the reality of mind combat. The instructor's voice echoed through dimensions, seeming to come from inside each student's head. This is not a training exercise with safety measures. This is not a game where you can restart if you lose. The psychic plane is real. The damage is real. The deaths are real. Thelvis expanded, becoming larger, and the geometric patterns on its body began to shift faster. In the 4,000 years I have taught at this academy, 17,000 students have attempted mind combat training. 9,000 emerged with permanent psychological damage. They live the rest of their lives unable to think clearly, unable to form memories, unable to be who they once were. The instructor's form flickered, and for a moment students could see scars that existed only in thought space, wounds that never healed, damage that persisted across time itself. 3,000 never woke up, Thelvis continued. Their minds shattered in the psychic plane. Their bodies breathe, their hearts beat, but the person they were is gone, destroyed by horrors they faced in thought space. Around the chamber, students shifted nervously. Even Velix, confident and trained since childhood, looked uncertain. Hesra's light patterns showed colors associated with fear in Quillan culture. The psychic plane does not forgive weakness, Thelvis said. It does not show mercy. When you enter mind combat, you face more than an opponent. You face yourself, every fear you have ever hidden, every doubt you have ever suppressed, every weakness you pretend does not exist. The psychic plane will find them all. It will use them against you. It will tear your consciousness apart and examine the pieces. The walls of the chamber began showing new images, not memories but representations. A mind being pulled apart like paper, consciousness scattered across impossible dimensions, thoughts becoming weapons that turned inward, destroying the thinker. Every civilization that has mastered mind combat has paid for it in broken minds and ruined lives. The instructor continued. The Vextral Empire fell because their greatest warriors went mad from psychic warfare. The Quillan Collective lost an entire generation to mental collapse. Even my own people, the oldest psychic race in the galaxy, count our mind combat masters in hundreds, not thousands, because so few survived the training. Thelvis moved through the assembled students, and each one felt the weight of that ancient presence. You are here because you showed potential, because your minds are strong. But potential means nothing in the psychic plane. Strength means nothing. I have seen the most disciplined students break in minutes. I have seen geniuses reduced to empty shells. The instructor stopped in front of Jinho, who had been listening quietly while eating a protein bar he'd saved from breakfast. Tomorrow, you will enter the mind combat simulation, Thelvis announced. You will face challenges designed to test every aspect of your consciousness. The simulation begins at level 1, basic hostility, and escalates based on your psychological resilience. Most students never survive past level 3. Only 12 students in Academy history have reached level 7. None have survived level 10. Around the chamber, students exchanged worried glances. This was what they came here for, what they trained for, but hearing it described so bluntly made the danger real. Tonight you will prepare, Thelvis instructed. Meditate. Fortify your mental defenses. Review everything you have learned about psychic shields and consciousness protection. Make peace with who you are, because the psychic arena will strip away every lie you tell yourself. It will show you the truth of your own mind, and that truth will either make you stronger or destroy you completely. The instructor's form began to fade. Classes are canceled for the rest of the day. Use this time wisely. Some of you will not be the same after tomorrow. Some of you may not wake up at all. With that cheerful thought, Thelvis disappeared, leaving the students alone in the reflection chamber. Velix was the first to leave, all 4 arms trembling slightly. Hesra's lights flickered irregularly. Nixala's gaseous form seemed to contract with anxiety. Other students filed out quietly, faces showing various expressions of fear and determination. Jinho finished his protein bar and followed them out. He had some studying to do, probably, and he should message his family. If this was as dangerous as Thelvis said, it seemed like a good idea to send a quick hello. That evening, the academy took on a strange atmosphere. Students who normally filled the common areas with noise and practice sessions were absent. Most had retreated to their quarters for private meditation. Some visited the chapel spaces dedicated to various galactic religions. Others composed messages to send home just in case. Jinho spent an hour in the library, reading about mind combat basics. Then he watched 2 episodes of a Korean drama on his datapad. Around 8 in the evening, he messaged his mom to say things were going well at school, and he'd call her over the weekend. At 9, he brushed his teeth, set his alarm, and went to bed. In the meditation chambers, Velix sat in perfect stillness, all four consciousness threads focused on fortifying his mental shields. In the observation decks, Hesera practiced processing speeds, pushing its mind faster and faster. In the dimensional overlap spaces, Nixala expanded and contracted, preparing for the flexibility needed in psychic combat. In his quarters, Jinho slept peacefully, dreaming about hot pot and wondering if the academy cafeteria could make proper kimchi. The ancient station continued its slow rotation around a distant star. In the depths of the academy, the mind combat simulation chambers powered up, their systems checking and rechecking safety protocols. Medical teams prepared for potential emergencies. Instructors reviewed student files one last time, calculating survival odds. Tomorrow, young minds would enter one of the most dangerous training exercises in galactic civilization. Tomorrow, some would prove themselves worthy. Tomorrow, some would break. Tomorrow, the real test began. But tonight, Jinho slept, completely unworried about psychological destruction or permanent mental damage. He had set his alarm. He had clean clothes ready for the morning. Everything was fine. The galaxy's most dangerous combat training could wait until after breakfast. The mind combat chamber looked nothing like Jinho expected. He thought there would be fancy equipment, glowing lights, maybe some dramatic music. Instead, it was just a white room. Perfectly white walls, floor, and ceiling. No windows, no decorations, nothing. The emptiness was somehow worse than any scary design would have been. The chamber exists in two places at once, Thelvas explained to the gathered students. Your bodies remain here in physical space, but your consciousness will be pulled into psychic space, a shared mindscape where thoughts become reality. What happens there will feel completely real. Pain is real. Fear is real. Death can be real. Jinho raised his hand. Can we die? Like actually die? Your body will survive, the instructor said. But if your mind shatters in the psychic plane, what returns to your body will not be you. Not really. That's a yes then, Velix muttered, his silver skin looking paler than usual. The students would enter in pairs. The simulation would adapt to both participants, creating challenges based on their combined psychological profiles. Monitoring equipment lined the walls, and a medical team stood ready with emergency extraction protocols. Jinho was paired with Velix for his first session. The Korthan warrior tried to hide his disappointment. Being paired with the human meant Velix would essentially face the simulation alone. Jinho had no psychic abilities to help, no training to contribute. He would probably break immediately, and Velix would have to carry the burden of both their tests. Just try to stay conscious, Velix told him as they stepped into the chamber. I will handle the combat. You focus on not dying. I'll do my best, Jinho promised. Thelvas watched from the observation room, surrounded by monitors showing both students' vital signs and brain activity. Dozens of technicians sat at control stations ready to pull the students out if their mental patterns showed signs of breaking. Beginning simulation, one technician announced. Starting at level 1, the chamber activated. Light seemed to bend around the two students. Reality rippled like water. Then suddenly they were somewhere else. Jinho blinked. Instead of the white room, he stood on a massive battlefield under a blood-red sky. The ground beneath his feet was cracked and dry. In the distance, mountains burned. The air smelled like smoke and something else, something wrong that made his stomach twist. This is the mindscape, Velix said, his voice strange and echoing, a shared psychic space created by the simulation. Remember, nothing here is real, but it can still hurt you. Stay behind me. The Korthan warrior's 4 arms spread wide and weapons materialized in each hand. Swords, spears, all glowing with psychic energy. Around him, shields began to form, complex geometric patterns of light that represented his mental defenses. Jinho looked down at his own hands. They looked normal. He tried to manifest a weapon like Velix did, concentrating hard. Nothing happened. Yeah, I don't think I can do the psychic weapon thing. Just stay back and try not to think too loudly, Velix instructed. Your thoughts can become real here, and untrained thoughts can be dangerous. Before Jinho could ask what that meant, the simulation attacked. Shapes emerged from the burning landscape. They weren't quite creatures, not quite shadows. They moved wrong, existed wrong, and looking at them made Jinho's eyes hurt. The simulation was probing them, searching for weaknesses. For Velix, it found plenty. The shapes transformed, becoming something specific. Suddenly, the Korthan warrior wasn't standing on a battlefield anymore. He was on his home planet watching it burn. His family called out to him, begging for help he couldn't give. Buildings collapsed. People screamed. Felix roared, psychic energy exploding from his body. His 4 consciousness threads worked frantically, maintaining shields while trying to process the trauma. This was his deepest fear, the nightmare that woke him in the night, and the simulation had manifested it perfectly. In the observation room, alarms beeped. His stress levels are spiking, a technician reported. Heart rate elevated, adrenaline surge. He's experiencing full psychological assault. Level 2 already, another technician asked in disbelief. The simulation is escalating faster than normal. Thelvis leaned forward, studying the monitors. It is probing the human, searching for trauma to exploit. On the psychic battlefield, Jinho stood perfectly still while chaos erupted around him. The simulation's AI system, designed to attack psychological weaknesses, turned its attention to the human. It dove into Jinho's mind, searching. It found memories of rush-hour traffic in Seoul. Annoying but not traumatic. It found a test Jinho failed in high school. Disappointing but not devastating. It found a text message he sent to a girl he liked that got no response. Awkward but not crushing. The AI system paused, confused. Every sentient being had fears, traumas, deep psychological wounds that could be weaponized. But this human's mind was cluttered. Random thoughts bounced around with no organization. Worries about forgetting to turn off his coffee maker, mixed with song lyrics, mixed with wondering what to have for dinner, mixed with remembering a funny video he saw last week. The simulation escalated to level 3, then level 4. It showed Jinho his own death in various horrible ways. It manifested monsters from the deepest parts of human consciousness. It created scenarios of loss, failure, humiliation. Jinho watched with mild interest. That's pretty gross. The simulation showed him everyone he loved dying. Jinho felt sad but also recognized this wasn't real. His brain helpfully reminded him he needed to buy toothpaste later. In the observation room, technicians stared at their screens in confusion. The human stress levels are normal. How is that possible? We're at level 5 now. Maybe the equipment is broken, someone suggested. Run a diagnostic. While they checked the equipment, the simulation escalated to level 6. The mindscape itself began to twist. Reality became fluid. Time lost meaning. The kind of psychological assault that left permanent scars on trained warriors. Jinho yawned. He couldn't help it. He'd worked a double shift at the convenience store before coming to the academy, and his sleep schedule was still messed up. The time difference between Earth and the station didn't help. Sorry, he said to no one in particular. Long day. Felix was still fighting desperately against his manifested fears. His shields cracked, reformed, cracked again. He was lasting longer than most students, a testament to his training. But he was losing. The simulation was too strong, too perfect in its attack. The AI system continued its assault on Jinho, now completely ignoring Felix. It escalated to level 7, a level only 3 students in academy history had survived. The mindscape filled with horrors beyond description, things that shouldn't exist, concepts that broke sanity, the weight of existential dread given form. Jinho sat down on the blood-soaked ground. His legs were tired from standing. Wake me up in 20 minutes? What is he doing? A technician shouted in the observation room. Why is he sitting down? Level 8, another technician reported. The simulation is escalating on its own now. This shouldn't be possible. Students don't reach level 8 on their first session. The psychological damage would be... Pull them out, Thelvis ordered. Wait, someone interrupted. Look at his brain activity. It's decreasing. They all stared at the monitors. Jinho's brainwave patterns were slowing, settling into a rhythm they recognized. He's falling asleep, a technician whispered, in the middle of level 8 psychic assault. He's falling asleep. In the mindscape, while reality itself became a weapon, while concepts of fear and pain and madness given form attacked from every direction, Jinho lay down. The ground wasn't comfortable, but he'd slept in worse places. That one time he fell asleep on the subway and missed his stop came to mind. His eyes closed. Within seconds, his breathing deepened. The simulation escalated to level 9. Then level 10, level 10. The ultimate test. cosmic horror beyond comprehension, the kind of psychic assault that had driven seasoned warriors to suicide. Reality inverted. Time became space, became thought, became nothing. The fundamental nature of consciousness itself became the attack. Jinho began to snore softly. He dreamed about Hot Pot with his friends back home. In the dream, someone made a joke and everyone laughed. It was a good dream. The simulation's AI system tried to enter his dreams to corrupt them. It found his subconscious mind and froze. The human's sleeping mind was chaos. Random thoughts, half-remembered songs, grocery lists, inside jokes that made no sense, and a recurring dream about being late to class while riding a giant duck. There was no structure to attack, no framework to exploit, no coherent consciousness to assault. Just pure, genuine, chaotic human thought. The simulation began to glitch. Warning lights flashed in the observation room. System destabilization, a technician called out. The simulation AI is encountering a paradox. It doesn't know how to process a sleeping participant. Emergency extraction, Thelvis commanded. Now! They pulled both students from the mindscape. Felix emerged gasping, traumatized but alive. He had lasted 12 minutes against level 7 threats. A new academy record? He fell to his knees, shaking. Jinho woke up confused, slightly drooling. Is it over? Did I miss anything? The chamber's equipment sparked and smoked. 3 monitoring devices had burned out. The AI core would require a complete reset. In 4,000 years of operation, this had never happened. Medical staff rushed to check Velix when the recordings played on every screen in the observation room. Scientists, military advisors, psychic warfare experts, and academy administrators crowded around the monitors, watching the impossible footage for the 7th time. There. Dr. Yuna Choi pointed at the screen. That's when the simulation reaches level 10, maximum psychological assault. And there, she paused the video. That's when the human subject enters REM sleep. The room erupted in argument again. For 3 days, experts from across the galaxy had been arriving at Velthera Academy to study what happened. No one could agree on an explanation. The equipment malfunctioned, insisted a Vextral neuroscientist. It must have. Level 10 has never been survived, let alone slept through. We've checked every system twice, a technician replied. Everything functioned perfectly. The simulation reached level 10. The human experienced full psychic assault, and he fell asleep. Perhaps he has an unknown defensive ability, suggested a Quillan psychologist. Some form of unconscious mental shield we cannot detect. Dr. Yuna Choi, who had accompanied Jinho from Earth, shook her head. We've tested him extensively. He has no psychic abilities. His mental shielding is practically non-existent. If anything, his mind is more vulnerable than average. Then how did he survive? Thelvis demanded. The ancient instructor had not slept since the incident, studying the recordings obsessively. Level 10 assault tears apart structured consciousness. It finds every weakness, every crack in mental discipline. It should have destroyed him. Yuna pulled up a series of brain scans showing Jinho's neural patterns compared to other species. That's what I've been trying to explain. Your mind combat system is designed to attack structured consciousness, but human minds aren't structured. They're messy. Explain, Thelvis said. Yuna highlighted different sections of the brain scans. Every psychic species in the galaxy has evolved or trained their minds to be organized. Thoughts follow patterns. Consciousness has architecture. Even basic sentient beings have some mental structure. That structure is what allows psychic abilities to develop. She switched to Jinho's scan. Humans never developed that way. Our psychic abilities are almost non-existent because our minds are chaotic. An average human processes about 6,000 thoughts per day. Most of them are completely random and pointless. A Korthan military advisor leaned forward. You're saying humans think incorrectly? Not incorrectly, Yuna corrected. Just differently. We have constant internal dialogue. Random songs stuck in our heads. Intrusive thoughts about things that don't matter. Attention spans that jump from topic to topic with no connection. We argue with ourselves. We imagine conversations that will never happen. We worry about things that aren't problems yet. She pulled up a real-time thought scan from a human volunteer who'd come with her. The screen filled with rapidly changing text. I wonder if that light has always been flickering. Need to buy milk. Is that person staring at me? What was that song from that commercial? My foot itches. Did I lock the door this morning? I should learn to play guitar. Why do we park in driveways and drive on parkways? The thoughts continued, jumping randomly from topic to topic with no pattern or structure. This is normal? Asked a Quillan scientist in disbelief. This is constant, Una confirmed. Every moment of every day for most humans. Our minds are like, imagine a room full of people all talking at once about different topics, and that room is inside your head, and it never stops. Thelva studied the scans carefully. And your mind combat simulation cannot attack this kind of consciousness? It's not designed to, Una explained. Your simulation finds cracks in mental discipline. But Jinho doesn't have discipline to crack. It searches for weaknesses in psychic frameworks. But he doesn't have frameworks. It tries to exploit structured consciousness, but his consciousness isn't structured. She pulled up the recording of the simulation attacking Jinho. Watch what happens. The AI probes his mind, searching for deep trauma. It finds mild annoyances. It searches for existential dread. It finds him wondering if he forgot to turn off his coffee maker. It manifests cosmic horror. His brain reminds him he needs to buy toothpaste. A long silence filled the observation room. Finally, Velik spoke up. The Korthan warrior had recovered enough to attend the meeting, though he still looked shaken from his experience. But the simulation reached level 10. That level of assault destroys even the most chaotic mind. It tears apart the very concept of self. That's the interesting part, Una said with a slight smile. Humans have been having existential crises since we invented philosophy. We write sad poetry about it. We make jokes about the meaninglessness of existence. Some of us find that stuff relaxing. She clicked to another slide. When your simulation tried to attack Jinho with existential dread, it encountered a mind that had already wondered, what's the point of anything, about 1,000 times. Usually right before breakfast. When it showed him the meaninglessness of existence, it found someone who'd read Camus in college and then went to get tacos. And the sleeping? Thelvis asked quietly. Jinho has untreated sleep apnea and worked a double shift before the test, Una explained. He was genuinely tired. The simulation couldn't keep him awake. Another long silence. A Vextral commander stood abruptly. Are you telling us that humanity survived natural selection with minds that are too disorganized to be attacked by psychic warfare? Basically, yes, Una confirmed. Our greatest defense against mental assault is that we don't pay attention to our own thoughts. Why would anyone else want to? But surely humans can be affected by psychic attacks, a scientist protested. Fear, pain, these are universal responses. Oh, we can definitely feel fear and pain, Una agreed. But sustained structured psychic assault? The kind that requires organized consciousness to process? Our minds just don't engage with it properly. It's like trying to grip water. You can touch it, but you can't hold it. She pulled up more data. During the level 10 assault, Jinho's brain showed all the normal responses. Mild stress, slight elevation in heart rate, but his thoughts just kept wandering. The simulation showed him dying in horrible ways, and his brain started thinking about a funny video he saw last week. It attacked him with psychological horror, and he remembered he wanted to call his mom over the weekend. Thelvis looked at the ancient academy around them. 4,000 years of psychic combat training and doctrine. This changes everything. It gets worse, Una added. We brought more human volunteers. 5 of them. They all passed level 10. 2 fell asleep. One asked if he could reschedule because he wasn't feeling it today. Another one brought a book. The military advisors began talking urgently among themselves. For millennia, psychic warfare had been the ultimate form of combat. Civilizations rose and fell based on their mental disciplines. Wars were won by whoever could break enemy minds first. The Velthera Academy existed to train warriors for this type of combat. And now there was an entire species that was functionally immune. Not through superior evolution or advanced training, but through sheer cognitive chaos. How many humans are there? A commander asked. About 12 billion on Earth, Una replied. Another 3 billion in our colony systems. 15 billion beings that cannot be defeated by mind. Combat, someone whispered. That is a significant military asset, a Korthan advisor noted. Or a significant threat, another replied. Una held up her hands. Humans have no interest in conquest. We barely figured out how to work together on our own planet. But yes, we are. Difficult to fight with psychic warfare. Our minds are naturally resistant because they're naturally chaotic. Thelva stood and the room fell silent. The ancient instructor looked tired, something no one had seen before. For 4,000 years I have taught the galaxy's strongest minds. I have seen students achieve impossible feats through discipline and training. I have witnessed the evolution of psychic combat from crude mental attacks to sophisticated warfare. The instructor looked at Jinho's brain scans on the screen. And now I learn that all of it, all of our discipline and training and structure makes us vulnerable to the very attacks we created. While one species, dismissed as psychically dormant, is immune because they never developed what we considered necessary for advanced consciousness. The galaxy is going to panic when this information spreads, a scientist said quietly. No, Thelvis replied. The galaxy is going to adapt, as it always has. The instructor turned to Yuna. You said you brought volunteers. The Galactic Union will want to study them, to train with them, to learn from them. We expected that, Yuna nodded. Earth is willing to cooperate, but we have conditions. We want full access to galactic technology, fair trade agreements, and representation on the Union Council. You are leveraging a military advantage for political gain, a commander observed. We're using what we have to get what we want, Yuna corrected. That's just good negotiation. Despite the tension, several beings in the room made sounds that might have been laughter. They could respect that. There is one more thing, Thelva said. We must determine if this immunity is truly universal among humans or if Jinho is special, even among his species. That's easy enough to test. Yun. News traveled fast across the galactic network. Within 2 days, every major civilization knew about the human who slept through level 10. Within a week, it was the biggest story in the galaxy. Military academies across dozens star systems reviewed their psychic combat protocols. Defense departments calculated new threat assessments. Scientists proposed hundreds of research projects. And Earth, which had been considered a minor backwater world with psychically dormant inhabitants, suddenly became very interesting to everyone. The Galactic Union Council held an emergency session. Representatives from 200 species gathered to discuss the implications. Some called it a paradigm shift. Others called it a crisis. A few called it the funniest thing to happen to galactic politics in centuries. We need to understand the full extent of this immunity, demanded Ambassador Krell, a tall being covered in iridescent scales. If all humans possess this trait, it fundamentally alters the balance of power. Earth has agreed to cooperate with comprehensive testing, replied Ambassador Torres, Earth's representative. She was a short woman with gray hair and a no-nonsense attitude. But we will not allow our citizens to be treated as lab subjects. Any testing will be voluntary and supervised by our own scientists. That is acceptable, Krell agreed grudgingly. But we must act quickly. If hostile forces learn of this before we understand it fully. Everyone already knows, Torres interrupted. You cannot keep this kind of information secret. Half the galaxy has memes about it already. This was true. Across millions of worlds, beings shared jokes and images about the sleepy human who broke mind combat. The most popular one showed Jinho snoring peacefully while cosmic horrors raged around him. The caption read, "When you're too tired to care about psychological destruction." Back at Velthara Academy, Jinho's life had become complicated. Other students stopped him in the hallways to ask questions. Instructors requested interviews. Military officials wanted to schedule tests. A famous psychic warrior asked for his autograph. I don't understand why everyone cares so much, Jinho told his friends during lunch. I just fell asleep. People fall asleep all the time. Not during level 10 psychic assault, Velix pointed out. That is specifically the thing people do not do. Normal humans sleep 8 hours a day, Hesra added, lights flickering with curiosity. Your species spends 1/3 of your lives unconscious. Is this defensive adaptation? We just get tired, Jinho explained. If we don't sleep, we get cranky and can't think straight. Though I guess not thinking straight is kind of our thing anyway. More human volunteers arrived at the academy over the following weeks. The Union sent ships to Earth to recruit people interested in participating in psychic combat research. Thousands applied. Earth selected a diverse group representing different ages, backgrounds, and personalities. The results were consistent and baffling. Minho, a college student who spent most of his time gaming, passed level 10 while scrolling through his phone. He had to be told multiple times that the test had started. Jisoo, an accountant, experienced the cosmic horror of level 10 while mentally organizing her tax receipts. She emerged asking if anyone had a calculator. Sora, a professional gamer, found psychic warfare less stressful than ranked matches and offered suggestions for improving the simulation's game balance. Doyen brought a book to read during mind combat. When asked why, he said the simulation was kind of boring compared to the mystery novel he was reading. Every human tested showed the same pattern. Chaotic thoughts, wandering attention, complete immunity to structured psychic assault. The military implications were staggering. For 4,000 years, we have built our defense strategies around psychic warfare, Thelvis explained to a room full of military commanders. We trained elite soldiers in mind combat. We developed weapons that attack consciousness. We created entire battle doctrines based on breaking enemy mental discipline. The instructor pulled up strategic maps showing galactic territories, and now we discover that one species, 15 billion beings, cannot be defeated this way. Not because they are stronger, but because they are incompatible with the method. What do you recommend? Asked General Vexthor, Supreme Commander of the Union Defense Forces. Adaptation, Thelvis replied simply. We must develop new combat methods. Physical warfare, energy weapons, conventional tactics, all the things we moved away from when psychic warfare became dominant. That will take decades, another commander protested. Perhaps centuries. We would need to rebuild our entire military infrastructure. Then we should start immediately, Thelvis said, because if we do not, someone else will, and they will use humans to do it. This sobering thought silenced the room. Everyone understood the implication. If a hostile force recruited human soldiers, they would have an army immune to the galaxy's primary form of warfare. Earth understood this too. Ambassador Torres proposed a treaty during the next council session. Humanity will share our natural immunity through military cooperation with the Galactic Union. In exchange, we want full membership status, access to all galactic technologies, and a permanent seat on the Security Council. The debate lasted for hours. Some representatives objected to giving so much power to a newly contacted species. Others argued that humanity's immunity was too valuable to refuse. Eventually, a compromise was reached. Earth would receive provisional membership with a path to full status, immediate technology transfer, and a rotating seat on the Security Council. One more thing, Torres added. We want our people to have access to the Velthera Academy, not as test subjects, but as students. If humans are going to be part of galactic society, we should learn your ways. Even if we can't do the psychic stuff. This was approved with less debate. After all, what harm could a few human students cause at an academy? 6 months passed. The galaxy adapted to its new reality with surprising speed. Human soldiers began training alongside alien forces. Scientists from Earth and other worlds collaborated on projects combining human cognitive chaos with alien psychic abilities. Trade agreements opened Earth to galactic markets, and at Velthera Academy, the curriculum changed. Welcome to Psychic Combat Theory with Human Perspectives, Instructor Velthar announced to a classroom of confused students. In this course, you will learn how human cognitive patterns can enhance your mental defenses. The students looked at Jinho, who sat in the front row eating snacks. The key, Velthar continued, is to introduce controlled chaos into your thought patterns. When facing psychic assault, instead of maintaining rigid discipline, allow your mind to wander. Think about random things. Let your thoughts jump from topic to topic. A Corthan student raised 3 of his 4 hands. But we have been taught since childhood that mental discipline is essential. That random thoughts are weakness. That is correct for generating psychic attacks, Velthar agreed. But for defense, chaos can be strength. Observe. The instructor showed recordings of human brain patterns during psychic assault. Notice how the attack finds no purchase. It is like trying to catch smoke. The human mind simply does not engage with the assault in the expected way. This seems impossible to learn, a Quillan student protested. It is difficult, Velthar admitted. Your species have evolved past chaos. Training your minds backward goes against every instinct. But even partial success can improve your defensive capabilities significantly. The course became one of the most popular in the Academy's history. Students struggled to intentionally think random thoughts. Centuries of mental discipline made it nearly impossible for most species to truly embrace cognitive chaos. But even small improvements in mental flexibility proved valuable. Jinho became an unofficial teaching assistant. His main job was to let psychic students observe his thought patterns while he went about his day. They watched in fascination as his mind bounced from thoughts about dinner to memories of childhood, to wondering why ships were called ships and cargo was called cargo. "How do you live like this?" Velix asked one day, studying the readout of Jinho's thoughts. "So many random ideas at once." "Does it not drive you mad?" "This is just normal thinking," Jinho replied. "Everyone back home thinks like this. Well, maybe not exactly like this, but similar. We're used to it. Your species must have incredible mental endurance, or we're just too distracted to notice," Jinho suggested. A book was published 6 months later, written by a consortium of human and alien psychologists, Understanding Human Cognitive Chaos. A new paradigm for consciousness studies became required reading at universities across the galaxy. It argued that the traditional model of consciousness, based on structure and discipline, was incomplete. That chaos could be a valid form of mental organization. The book's most controversial chapter suggested that all advanced civilizations might have accidentally made themselves vulnerable by evolving past cognitive chaos, that humanity's deficiency in psychic abilities was actually an advantage in a galaxy that had optimized itself for one type of warfare. Jinho never read the book. He was listed as a co-author because they used his brain scans, but reading academic psychology sounded boring. He was more interested in his engineering courses and the new virtual reality game that just came out. 1 year after the incident, the Academy held a ceremony.